The Marvel's Avengers video game has had a turbulent relationships with skins since the moment the game was released. Many didn't like the original designs of the characters in the base game. Many even criticized the game for not looking enough like the MCU actors who portrayed those characters in the films. Now, after the release of the game, skins were periodically sold in a digital marketplace in exchange for money, and these marketplace skins seem to be criticized even more than the initial designs of the characters. However, as time went on, the types of skins available in the marketplace changed drastically, and changes took the form of variety, inspiration, and quality. Prices would also shift, making the marketplace a completely different experience towards the end of 2022, as opposed to when the game launched back in 2020. Well, since it was announced that support would be ending for Avengers in September of 2023, the developers have decided to gift all of the in-game skins to players who own a copy of the game. On March 31st, if you own a copy of Avengers, you will receive every single skin released in the marketplace or in specialty shipments, and that will be free of charge as a thank you for playing the game. Now, with that news and history in mind, I thought it would be a good time to talk about some of my favorite skins in the game. There are plenty of skins that I don't like in Avengers, however, I think I've been more positive on the designs available in the marketplace than other players have been. So in today's video, I'll be listing my favorite skins in Marvel's Avengers.
Stars and Stripes!
Hello and welcome to another Carrot Scraps video, and by another, I mean the 155th. And of course, as usual, I wanted to give a couple of disclaimers up front. Now, the whole idea of this video is that since most of the skins have been released for Marvel's Avengers, I thought it'd be a good idea to rank my favorites. Now, in the last couple of days, the official Avengers Twitter account has been revealing that we'll be getting some additional skins when the final update for the game comes out. And while I'm still really excited for those skins, I'm still pretty confident that this list will remain true even after that final update. Now, the way that this video is going to be structured is that I'm going to split my favorite skins into multiple different categories. We're going to start off by talking about my top 5 favorite MCU skins, then talking about my top 5 favorite comic book skins, and then continuing to team set skins, original skins, and even iconic ones. There are so many different skins that I like in the game, and I thought that this was the best way to highlight each of them from different categories. Lastly, try to keep in mind that this video is just my opinion, so if you have a different set of favorite skins in the game or you disagree with me, that's totally okay. I'm just talking about my preferences and the skins that I like the most. I'm not trying to shame anybody for their preferences. Anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's talk about my favorite skins in Marvel's Avengers. Now, as I've mentioned many times on the channel, maybe not on YouTube, but definitely on Twitch and on Twitter, I'm not the biggest MCU fan. I might try to change that in the future, explore the world of the MCU a little bit more, but I've watched a lot of MCU media, I've consumed a lot of MCU media, and it's just not my style. I don't hate it. You know, it's just I prefer comic books, I prefer video games. And so for a lot of people, you know, the MCU skins are the pinnacle of skins in Avengers. But for me, you know, I was like, that's cool. I'm happy that people who like this stuff are getting them. I prefer the comic book skins. But that being said, something really cool about Avengers was that their inclusion of MCU skins and their rendering of these MCU costumes actually made me like a lot of these costumes more than I had before. I was looking at costumes that I typically didn't like and was suddenly interested in them. So I gotta thank, you know, Avengers for making me look at the MCU in a more positive light when it comes to costumes. Now, number 5 on my favorite MCU skins in the game is this Thor Ragnarok skin, and I'm sure you can tell why. I mean, look at the skull on his back. I love this skin, and it's pretty simple, right? The rest of the skin looks alright. I do like the costume that Thor is wearing, but this skull really is the main attraction, and rightfully so. It looks absolutely incredible. It's very rare to see such a huge prop on a character in this game, so it was a cool idea, and I think they rendered it really well. This is a great looking skin. After that, we have the Avengers Endgame Iron Man Snap skin, and again, this is just such a creative idea. The base costume is not my favorite. I don't love these sleek looking Iron Man designs typically, and this costume from the movies is not one of my favorites, but just the fact that we got the Infinity Stones in the game, I mean, I made a video about it. I thought it was just a cool little idea, and I thought it was a well-rendered idea. I wasn't expecting this to be in the game, but I was really happy that it was here. And it just, yeah, I mean, I don't know, it just looks really cool. I also really love the battle damage on it. I thought they did a great job at rendering both the visual effects for the, Infinity Stones, but then also for the battle damage. So overall, just a really awesome skin. Our number 3 spot is a skin that I was really anticipating. In fact, this might have been the first MCU skin that I was like anxiously awaiting. I wanted this skin really badly because I just really liked this suit. This is one of the few MCU costumes that I really just like on its face. The minute I saw it, I was like, that's a really cool looking superhero costume. And I think in general, the Phase 4 just has a lot of costumes that are fantastic. I think the MCU really stepped up their costume game when it came to Phase 4, and I think that's why I've been more interested in the MCU since, and why I mean, typically most of the costumes that I like from the MCU are from, Phase 4, with some exceptions. But anyway, this Black Widow snowsuit skin is fantastic. I just think it looks really good, and it renders a suit that I already like really well in the game. So definitely wore this a lot at the time, and I still like to wear it now. And it was one of those skins that I was just really excited to get. Now, number 2 is kind of a tough pick for me because I really love the top 2 picks for my top 5 MCU skins, but I think I'm gonna go with T'Challa's Black Panther Civil War skin. I really love this costume. Again, this is another costume that I really love from the MCU. I like it more than the Black Panther costume from the Black Panther movie. I just think it looks really, really cool. This is one of the best translations from comic to film, and when it comes to kind of making their own costume. And it's a costume that I love a lot. I have a statue of it. Like, I love this look. So when I started thinking about MCU skins that I wanted for Avengers, this was the one that came to mind when the Black Panther came out in Avengers. This was one of those skins that I was asking for all the time, and I was so happy that they finally added. So definitely another skin that I was excited for and that I'm happy that I got. And lastly, the number 1 pick for me when it comes to favorite MCU costumes is the Avengers Endgame Black Widow skin, which is fantastic in my opinion. I really love the way that this suit looks just from a design perspective. I think hair is a pretty common discussion in the Avengers community. I'm sure if you're a part of that community, you're aware of it, you know it. And to see this skin and to see the hair that they gave her, it was really, really cool. It was such a shock after so many different, like, kind of reusing, similar hair models for different skins. It was nice to see something completely new and completely different, and it really does add so much to this skin. I'm not somebody who necessarily was upset with the use of hair in Avengers, but I'm also somebody who is excited to see new assets in the game. So to see this new hair look on this skin, on this really great looking costume, really did complete the look and really did elevate it. I can't match that excitement when this skin dropped for the first time, and we saw that braid. I just think that it was a really cool surprise, and even without the surprise, it's just a really great looking suit. But in general, again, like I said, the MCU costumes, even though it's not my thing, it's not my version of Marvel that is my favorite, it's clearly a lot of other people's favorite, and I think Avengers did a great job of incorporating MCU skins in the game and MCU references into the game, especially given the criticisms about the way the characters looked when the game was first released, saying that the characters didn't look like the actors. I always thought that was a very silly criticism, but clearly they were trying to listen, the devs were trying to listen to the players, and they tried to add as much MCU as they could to the game, and I think that's really cool. I think, for the most part, these MCU skins were really well rendered. Next, let's talk about my favorite comic book inspired skins in Marvel's Avengers. And while there is definitely a huge variety of what inspired means in the game, from lightly inspired to heavily inspired, I think there are some really fantastic comic book skins in Avengers, especially towards the end of the game's life cycle. Now, let's start off with number 5, the Iron Man Artificial Genius skin. And this is a cool skin because, first of all, it's just a more recent pull from the comics. I always like when these kinds of games and these kind of, multimedia pull inspiration from recent and older comic books. I don't feel like I typically get to see newer stories like this referenced as quickly, so it was a cool surprise. And I also just love the way that Tony looks here. I think it's a really well-rendered costume. I love the holographic face, and I love how weathered the costume is, how weathered his armor is. It's a really good look, and it's a great interpretation of this look from the comics. Next is the Miss Marvel Power Gloves skin, and this skin is fantastic just because it's an awesome design. It's an incredible design, but on top of that, it has an extra layer of just interesting deep cut reference that this is just a variant cover. The inspiration for this look is just from a variant cover. To my knowledge, it wasn't actually in a comic book. It was just an optional cover that you could find. It was just an additional design for Miss Marvel, and I think that's a really cool pull. Again, in the world of superhero media, I like to see these kind of deep cuts, especially from something so recent and something so optional. But putting that, kind of deep cut reference aside, in general, it's just a really cool look. It's a great design. It's a really great choice when it comes to picking from the world of superhero costumes, and then I think they translated it really well. I think Kamala in the game looks fantastic in this costume, and I think it looks pretty similar, if not almost exactly the same, to the costume from this cover. Once again, we're getting to the more difficult choices for me, and number 3 is hard for me to say, but at the end of the day, the top 3 are already pretty much tied for my favorite, and there were a number of other comic book skins that I wanted to mention here, but I wanted to keep it to just 5, so this is already tough for me as it is. Anyway, the Captain America Gladiator skin is just one of the best skins in the game. I love this skin so much. It looks so fantastic. Again, we have original hair for Captain America, a very different hair than we typically see on the character in the game, and then we get a new shield, which was always kind of a contentious subject when it came to new skins for Captain America and Avengers, and eventually we started getting more, new skins for the shield more regularly, and that was really cool, but this has got to be one of the coolest original shields in the game. It's such a different shield than what Cap is typically using, and it's just again, it's just such a cool different look than all of his other looks. But then, like all of these other comic book references, I love that it comes from a recent comic book, and I love the comic book that it comes from. I'm a huge Secret Wars 2015 fan. That was one of the big stories that made me go all in on Marvel Comics, going from just like a Spider-Man fan or a Daredevil fan to just a Marvel fan in general, and I have a huge, I have the entirety of the 2015 Secret Wars collection. I also have the older Secret Wars books as well, but anyway, the point being, I really love this story, and it was really cool to see this story referenced, especially this skin in particular. I remember when and where I was when I first saw this costume in a previews page for the upcoming Planet Hulk Secret Wars comic that, debuted this version of Captain America. And I remember being in the comic shop looking at this preview being like, oh, I have to pick this book up. Look at this. Like, what is going on here? And so to go, years later to this game that I absolutely love and to see that skin represented, it's just really cool. So there's a number of reasons why I love this skin, but it's one of the best skins in the game. It's so cool. Number 2 is the Spider-Man Mach 3 suit, and this suit is so awesome. First of all, it is a comic book inspired suit that came with Spider-Man when he first launched. A lot of the other more, we'll call it accurate, quote-unquote, skins, comic book skins in the game, or, the more inspired skins for the comic books came out towards, the later half of the Avengers life cycle. But when Spider-Man came out, he launched with this skin. And I think this skin is pretty close to, like, accurate when it comes to the inspiration. Now, of course, this comes from the Ends of the Earth Spider-Man comics, and that event or mini story was one of my favorites back in the day. I always loved that story, and I always loved this costume. I'm not the biggest fan of armor when it comes to superhero stuff, and yet this is one of my favorite Spider-Man costumes. So you know that I like it if, I'm not the biggest fan of armor, and yet this armor really, really works for me. And then again, not only do I love it in the comics, and I love seeing it referenced, but here it's just so well rendered. Like, this is such a great translation of page to gameplay to graphics. It looks incredible, and I love taking good shots of it in photo mode and making it look even better than it already does. It's definitely one of my favorite skins in the game, and it's hard for me not to play in this skin when I'm playing as Spider-Man. And number 1 on my comic book inspired list is the hooded Black Widow skin. And again, all the same stuff I've said recently, where it's like, it's a recent comic that's referenced, and I don't expect that. It's just such a recent book that I wouldn't expect them to pull from that, and it's cool to see. But then again, on top of that, it's just such a cool design. I love hoods on superhero costumes. You know, obviously I'm a huge Scarlet Spider fan. I've mentioned that many times on the channel. And I just love superheroes who have hoods on their costume. I think it's a really cool look. And so in general, I really love this Black Widow look. And so to see that and to see that translated and brought into the game was really cool. But again, as usual, it's just it's such a good translation from page to graphics. It looks so good, and it's just such a cool way to experience this costume that honestly we probably won't see that often in the books, and it's cool to kind of immortalize it in the game. So that's my number 1 pick. But again, there are so many other comic book skins that I absolutely loved. Another one that comes to mind is the Hawkeye retro, you know, the Hawkeye Clint Barton retro skin. I really loved that skin. That was a skin I was waiting for a while, and it was hard to narrow it down to just 5 choices. But I really do think that these 5 are my favorites at the end of the day, and they're the ones that I gravitate to the most and that I end up using the most for these characters when it comes to me wanting to have a comic book look. Next, we're going to be talking about my favorite team set skins. Now, team set skins were something that were definitely contentious amongst Avengers players, but it was something that I had asked for a while. A theme to tie your team together, something loose or something specific, and eventually they added it to the game. And some of the team set skins I really liked, and some of them I wasn't the biggest fan of, but I think I liked the idea the most. And I really liked how creative they got with different color schemes and just making new costumes in general. I'm really disappointed that we didn't get more team set skins towards the end of the game's life cycle, especially with some of the newer DLC characters, but I still like a lot of the earlier team set skins that we got. My third favorite team set skin is the Aerospace Miss Marvel. I think this skin deserves a lot of credit because when it first came out, first of all, it was part of the first round of team set skins that were brought to the game, and when this skin first dropped, people were really excited about it. A lot of people loved the design of this skin even when they were critical of a lot of the recolors and reused assets in the game. Either way, I do think it's one of the best looking skins from this set and from any of the team set skins. My second favorite team set skin is the Volcanic Captain America, and I really liked this set in general. I thought it was a cool idea to have a motion texture for a team set skin theme, but when it came to my favorite, the Captain America skin was just so cool to me. In fact, I feel like this skin is part of the reason why I got so into photo mode. I just thought it was such a cool look, and because of how interesting and how unique and new it was, I started to fill in the gaps on my own. I started to create my own story. So if it wasn't for this skin, I might not be into photo mode as much as I am today, and I definitely wouldn't be as into Marvel Avengers. I started writing my own stories about these original skins in the game thanks to this skin and skins like it, but especially this one. It's just such a cool, grisly Captain America, and I think it's awesome. I definitely feel like this version of Captain America has some pretty insane powers that we never really got to see. Anyway, I really like this skin, and I like this team set skin and this theme in general. And my third favorite team set skin is the Terrigen Charge Hulk. This skin just looks outstanding. Again, this is another skin that definitely caught a lot of attention from other players in the community, even those of the players who were critical of a lot of these skins. It's just such a cool idea, seeing the Terrigen charged through the Hulk's veins and seeing his eyes glowing and his skin a different pigment. You really tell a story just by this kind of striking imagery. And again, the Terrigen Charge set was another set of skins that really inspired me to start writing my own stories about the original skins in the game. It's definitely one of the coolest skins that are original in the game, but it's probably the best At least it's my favorite of the team set skins, even if I have others that I really like. And speaking of original skins, let's move on and talk about my favorite original skins in Marvel's Avengers that were not related to team set skins. So for example, these would just be standalone skins that are just made for the game with little to no inspiration from other places and not tying in with other skins. My fifth favorite when it comes to original skins in the game is the Clint Barton Hawkeye Iron Eye skin. This is one of the launch skins for Clint Barton, and I just think it looks really cool. It's kind of cool in like a Power Rangers kind of way, in my opinion, and it's just such an over-the-top design. I like the armor, I like how high-tech it is, and I just like how over-the-top it is. It just is, it's screaming that it's a superhero costume, and I think it looks really cool. For a while, it was my favorite skin in the game, and it's still hard to shake that feeling from it. I still look at it and think, wow, this is potentially my favorite skin in the game, and that's definitely not true anymore. There are a lot of other skins that I like more than this, but this is one of the top tier skins in my opinion, and it's such a cool original design. My fourth favorite when it comes to original skins in the game is the Kate Bishop Supernatural skin. In general, I really loved the Supernatural skins in the game, and I liked that they each pulled from their own little inspiration. I thought they were awesome. I'm a big Halloween fan and I love horror, so it was nice to get a little slice of that in Avengers. But I think the Kate Bishop Supernatural skin is one of the best. I love the little subtle bite marks on her neck, I like her eyes, and I like her outfit especially. She looks really cool, and again, I can imagine a story that goes along with this character because the design is so interesting. So I'm only just noticing this now during editing, but the Supernatural skins are actually team set skins. So in place of this Supernatural skin, I'm also going to mention the Route 66 Captain America skin, a skin that I absolutely love and that is original to the game. And while we're here, I didn't do 5 team set skins. I don't know what's wrong with me today. So I'm gonna mention the Supernatural Kate Bishop skin as the 4th, and then the Neon Razor Black Widow skin as the 5th for my favorite team set skins. Anyway, apologies for those mistakes. Let's get on with the other original skins. My third favorite original skin in the game is the Wakandan Stealth Iron Man skin. This skin really took the community by storm and really captivated players. It was the first specialty shipment skin that players could earn for free, and it was a great way for the Avengers dev team to start off that system. It really is a cool looking skin, and again, from an original design standpoint, it looks really awesome. It's a really cool idea to kind of blend what makes Iron Man and what makes the Black Panther the Black Panther. There's this really cool mesh between those two characters, and it comes across really well. And again, this is another one of those skins that I really love to see in photo mode because there are some really cool ideas that you can execute when it comes to different angles. My second favorite skin when it comes to original skins in Avengers is the Possessed Hulk skin. This is one of those skins that I feel like most people agree is one of the best early launch skins in the game. So much so that they made a Funko Pop of this skin, and they also made a Marvel Legends action figure of this skin. I think this design really did captivate a lot of people, and rightfully so. It's a cool idea. Adding face paint and kind of war paint to the Hulk is really smart, but especially this dramatic and gothic and grisly design that they used for this particular skin is a really cool idea. It's one of the more ferocious Hulks, and I really like the way he looks. Lastly, my favorite skin when it comes to original designs in Avengers is the Spider-Man costume shop skin. I'm sure not many of you will be surprised by this because this is what I consider to be the Scarlet Spider skin for the game. I would have loved to have a real Scarlet Spider skin in the game, but of course I like hoodies and I like hoods on superhero costumes, and this is as close to a Scarlet Spider skin as I'm gonna get in Avengers. Even though I consider it kind of this cousin to the Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider costume, I still also like it as its own look. I can see what it's going for, this kind of early days for Peter Parker in this version of the Marvel Universe, and I like what they did here. here, but it's also one of those skins that just reminds me of my favorite superhero and my favorite superhero costume, so of course I gravitate to it the most. Now, with all of those other categories out of the way, it's time for my final top 5, and that's the favorite iconic skins in Marvel's Avengers. And if you don't know what an iconic skin is in Avengers, I've heard some people actually ask me before why I think everything in Avengers is iconic. As a reminder, that's just what they call their original canon designs. So that's what we're talking about here. The favorite original designs for these characters that are canon to their universe. Now again, original designs are one of my favorite things about Avengers, but seeing the iconic designs are something special. It's really the team putting forth their foot and saying, this is what we think of this character with several decades of history. This is our take on them, and this is what our universe thinks that they look like, and I think that's really cool. Starting with my number 5th favorite, we're gonna go with Jane Foster Thor. I really like their interpretation of Jane Foster here, especially since we saw the MCU look at Jane Foster, and while I don't necessarily hate that look, it's not like I don't know, it's not a look that I necessarily love. Here, I think they did a really good job of translating the look of the character from the comics, but also putting their own spin on her and making her unique, which I think is a skill that they showed many times with their iconic designs, that they were able to make something almost subtly different, yet instantly recognizable as their own, and I really appreciated that. My number 4th favorite when it comes to iconic designs is the Hulk, and it's a little hard for me to describe exactly why I like the Hulk here, but I'm going to try my best. It has less to do with, I guess, his design and more to do with the way he looks in general. I think it's really easy to mess up the Hulk, you know what I mean? I think it's really easy to make a Hulk that doesn't look interesting or intimidating, and I think it's easy to make him look weird, but I think they really did a great job with the way the Hulk looks here. I think his face looks great. I think he's the right bulk. I do wish he could be a little greener, and that's why some of the other skins in the game are nice, because they saturate his colors a little bit more, but in general, he's also not, you know, like he's still green enough for me to be happy with the way he looks in the game. So I really do love the way that the Hulk looks in Avengers, especially given how it's really easy to fumble a Hulk design when it comes to the Incredible Hulk outside of the comics. So I think they did a great job here. My 3rd favorite iconic design is the Black Widow, and it's interesting because a lot of people really didn't like Black Widow, and to be fair, I think they changed her design slightly when it came to the initial look at the game to the full release. I don't know if the initial look at Black Widow was just that the game hadn't been finished yet, or if they actually did change the design based on player feedback and based on fan feedback. I'm not sure exactly what the case is, but either way, from day one, when it came to the beta, I've really loved the way that the Black Widow looks. I think she looks really cool. I really like her costume's design, and again, I think that this is a really good version of her that stands out. And again, I've mentioned this on the channel before, I haven't been the biggest Black Widow fan previously. It's not that I ever disliked the character, but I wasn't the hugest fan, and then when it came to this version of her, I was so compelled by the character combined with the, you know, the design that they had for her that I ended up getting more into Black Widow. So I do really like this design, and it's gonna mark, you know, a point when I got more interested in this character, which I think is really cool. My 2nd favorite iconic design is the Black Panther, and we're really down to some of my favorite designs here, because the Black Panther design in this game is incredible in my opinion. I think he looks so cool. I would love to get a statue of this particular skin. It's just such a cool looking costume. It's such a good combination of you know, looks from the books and armor, and making armor look cool, but also taking a little bit of a risk. You know, putting an emblem on his chest is not something that's super common for the Black Panther, at least in my experience, and I think they did it really well here, and once again, he's instantly recognizable as the Avengers version of him. I love this look for Black Panther, and I remember the first time seeing him in that launch trailer and just being flabbergasted, just blown away with how great this design is. You know what I mean? Not all of the iconic designs are this incredible, but this one really stands out, and I'll always remember Avengers for having, you know, fantastic iconic designs like this one. Lastly, my number 1 favorite iconic design in Marvel's Avengers is Spider-Man. I really love this look, and it's tough to please me when it comes to Spider-Man designs, at least when it comes to, you know, main costume designs, modernization designs. I'm very particular when it comes to my Spider-Man costumes, and there are some details about this costume that I'm not the biggest fan of, but overall, I think this is such a cool, unique looking Spider-Man costume that, again, really stands out from its contemporaries, and also just looks really cool on its own. Again, it takes a risk with this blockier, kind of, you know, angular spider design on his chest, and, you know, at first I could see why people might not like that, but it's so weird and it's so unique that I can't help but respect it. Plus, the colors that they used for the costume, you know, the types of colors, the shades, the saturations, I really love the way his costume looks and how vibrant it is. It has this, you know, just shimmer to it that I really like. And then there are these subtle details like these little hooks in the webbing. This is such a cool look for Spider-Man. And another one of those little details that I absolutely love are these spider symbols on his palms. What a weird detail. Again, so many strange details, but I love those strange details. Those kind of risks are what making superhero comics and superhero content is all about. So hands down, this is definitely my favorite iconic design, and I think about it all the time. I love just going back to Avengers, looking at this costume and remembering how cool it is. And so in the end, those are my favorite skins from Marvel's Avengers. There are definitely some skins that I'm not a big fan of, and there are definitely some skins that I absolutely love. There was a really cool collection of ideas and concepts that were shared throughout the game's history. Maybe they weren't always presented the best, maybe the prices weren't always perfect, and maybe not every design was 10 out of 10, but I think there's a level of creativity and fun and respect to the source material while also referencing other media that makes the skins in the library of Avengers really interesting to me. For better or worse, skins were a huge part of Marvel's Avengers, and I think that there are a lot of really cool details to admire about that fact. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. I want to thank you so much for watching. If for some reason you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and to subscribe to my channel for more. As regular viewers know, over on Twitch I typically play superhero games like Marvel's Avengers or Marvel Snap, with the occasional horror game like Resident Evil. And as a reminder, just because Avengers is losing support, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna stop playing the game over on Twitch. It's actually one of my favorite games to play while streaming because I can still talk to the chat while I play the game. Anyway, if any of that sounds interesting to you at all, make sure to check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/carrotscraps. And all my other social media, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram are at carrotscraps as well. So I want to thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. I the gamma skins are some of the funniest skins in the game. I loved them because I loved the idea they represented. I really had fun coming up with like concepts for like lore for them. And I, you know, I like the kind of idea of being like, oh, let's have some Gamma Avengers, but the designs are so funny. They're just so hilarious to look at. Maybe every now and again I can get them to look good in photo mode, but for the most part they look so silly. It's awesome.